I have been in love with Isabella for 8 years. I proposed to her countless times, but she never agreed. Just because my family is better off than hers, she is afraid that others will think she is trying to climb up the social ladder. When I brought up the topic too often, she would get angry. What will others think of me if I marry you? Don't I care about my reputation? Let whoever wants to be a kept man be one, but I won't be one. So, I devoted myself to being her unmarried husband, taking care of the household chores and handling interpersonal relationships for her until I found her marriage certificate at home. She was hugging her childhood sweetheart and laughing sweetly. And unrestrainedly, it turned out that it wasn't that she didn't want to get married, but that she already had someone else in mind. After finding Isabella's marriage certificate with her childhood sweetheart, Julian, I slumped to the ground, feeling completely weak. Over the years, I had proposed to Isabella countless times, but she always refused, saying she wanted to focus on her career and was afraid of being looked down upon by my relatives. I never said anything either. It turned out that it wasn't that she didn't want to marry me, but that she already had someone else. I packed my luggage and canceled the newly booked luxurious couples trip to Europe. As soon as I stepped out the door, Isabella's call came through. I almost forgot that she had installed a surveillance camera at home. Lucas, where are you going with your luggage? Who allowed you to cancel the luxurious trip? Did you discuss it with me? I couldn't help but sneer. Isabella, why are you bothering about my business when you're someone else's wife? You'd better care more about Julian. It's pitiful to stay alone in an empty room for so many years after getting married. After saying that, I hung up the phone directly and went home. As soon as I entered the house, my father came up and slapped me. Lucas, what are you making a fuss about? How many years have you been dating Isabella? You're on the verge of getting married, so what's with your tantrum? Isabella had already made preparations and contacted my parents in advance. I covered my face and shouted in disbelief, Isabella is already married and the groom isn't me. Do you want me to marry her again? My mother pulled me and persuaded me. Son, Isabella has told us everything. There were reasons for what she did back then, so we can't blame her. My father's face turned red and his brows were furrowed tightly. Why are you being so picky? She has come home on time every night for all these years and hasn't cheated. What are you making trouble for? These few words completely shattered the image of my parents in my heart. I looked at them in disbelief. Now they were all standing on Isabella's side. Just then, Isabella also arrived at the scene. She heaved a sigh of relief when she saw me and stepped forward to take my hand. What on earth are you making a fuss about? Can't we talk about things properly? I just felt a wave of nausea. Isabella, I made it very clear on the phone. It's over between us. I, Lucas, will never be a mistress, and I will never tolerate deception. Why are you so heartless? Unexpectedly, Isabella frowned and glared at me instead. Don't you know that Julian suffered from depression after breaking up with his ex-girlfriend and almost jumped off a building? I married him to stabilize his emotions. Besides, we haven't had anything happen between us all these years. I don't understand what else you're making a fuss about, I sneered. Everyone knew that Isabella cherished her childhood sweetheart the most. As long as he called in the middle of the night, no matter what Isabella was doing, she would rush over without hesitation. I used to think that she only regarded him as a younger brother, so I never had any objections. I was really sincere. But this time, they actually set their sights on me. He is now full of energy, traveling everywhere, and doesn't look like he has depression at all. I really was blind to have gotten involved with this despicable couple. My father stared at me with wide eyes. Did you hear what Isabella said? Stop making a fuss and go home. You're embarrassing enough. I looked at my father and asked, am I your child or Isabella? He was taken aback and then furrowed his brows tightly. What nonsense are you talking? Of course you are. Otherwise, would I be here embarrassing myself with you, you uneducated thing? I couldn't help but shake my head helplessly and looked at Isabella. There was a triumphant glint in her eyes. See, Mom and Dad are on my side. Just come back with me and stop making a fuss. I stopped struggling and nodded. Okay, but you have to get a divorce certificate with Julian first. Unexpectedly, Isabella suddenly said, I can't do it now. Julian is still taking medicine for his depression, and getting a divorce certificate will stimulate him. I sneered and looked at my parents. You see, I'll come back when you get divorced. After saying that, I broke free from them and turned around to leave. Compromise is out of the question, but I have to stabilize the situation first so that there is a possibility of completely escaping in the future. I found a hotel nearby and stayed there. After a few days, as expected, I received a call from Isabella. She said in a tired voice, Lucas, are you satisfied? I've already discussed getting a divorce with Julian. Stop making a fuss. At the same time, my father also sent me a message. Hurry up and get back here. Let's have a family dinner and settle your marriage as soon as possible. Don't you know that Isabella's company has grown bigger now? If you don't want to get married, are you going to let someone else take advantage of it? I looked at the phone screen and gave a bitter smile. Yes, before Isabella said she didn't want to be seen as climbing up the social ladder and refused to get married. Now, after these years, her company has grown bigger and bigger, and she has become the one with a higher status instead. Even my parents have been won over by her. I've thought for a while, changed my clothes, and went to the dinner openly. Anyway, this matter has to have a result. The dining table at home was filled with Isabella's favorite dishes, and my parents were chatting happily with her. It seemed as if they were a happy family. After I sat down, the atmosphere at the table became inexplicably dull. I smiled bitterly in my heart. The home where I had lived for more than 20 years had fallen apart because of Isabella's arrival. But I didn't show it. My father glanced at me and snorted, "You still know how to come back." At this moment, Isabella played the role of a peacemaker. "Okay, Dad, it's good that Lucas is back." Then she looked at me again. "Lucas, we'll live a good life together in the future. I will definitely treat you well." I looked at her promise coldly. "Where's the divorce certificate? You said you promised to get it done, which means you haven't done it yet, right?" Her face immediately turned cold. "Why do you always have to spoil the mood at the crucial moment?" "I said I'll get it done, and I will, but Julian is not in a good state now. He cries as soon as I mention it. Can't we just delay it? How can you be so heartless?" She was relying on the fact that my parents were on her side to be so presumptuous. I stood up and was about to leave. "You have 7 days. If the divorce procedures aren't done, then there's no need to do them. Sit down for me." My father shouted angrily. "Lucas, your mother and I have spoiled you too much, which is why you've developed such a lawless character. From today on, you'll stay in this room until it's time for you to get married." I was locked in my former bedroom. How ridiculous. This used to be evidence of my parents' favoritism towards me, but now, it has become a cage that imprisons me, the only son. The environment created for me with all their efforts. These used to be my enviable labels. But now, they have become the bargaining chips for my parents to curry favor with Isabella. In the middle of the night, there was a knock on the door. My mother came in with a plate of side dishes and placed it in front of me. "Son, you can't skip meals. You'll ruin your health if you keep this up." I took her hand. "Mom, please let me out. I really don't want to be with Isabella. She secretly married someone else. She doesn't love me at all. Mom, please let me go." I pleaded for a long time, but my mother just pulled her hand away. At that moment, my heart seemed to be empty. I only heard her say, "Son, you must have misunderstood Isabella. She really loves you. Listen to your mother. You can't be wrong." I nodded weakly. She wasn't my mother anymore. She was just my father's puppet now. My mother put down the dishes and went out. My father took away my phone. Of course, I wasn't going to just sit there and wait for my fate. I wanted to stay away from that Isabella. In the second half of the night, I took out the bed sheets and clothes, tied them tightly, and let them down. My family lived on the 5th floor, hanging in the air, holding the bed sheets. I wasn't even a bit scared. Instead, I felt a sense of luck as if I had survived a disaster. I was finally almost at the bottom when suddenly the light in my room came on. Then my father leaned out of the window and cursed at me. "You bastard. You've got some nerve running away by climbing out the window. Ouch, son. It's so high up. Be careful not to fall." My mother shouted worriedly. "It would be better if he fell to his death." Isabella was furious. "Lucas, you come back up here." When I saw them, I panicked. I looked down. It was only 2 or 3 meters from the ground. Grimacing in determination, I directly let go of my hands and jumped straight down. From this height, it wouldn't be fatal. With a bit of luck, I might not even get injured. Unfortunately, luck wasn't on my side. When I landed, I lost my balance and sprained my ankle. The piercing pain made me suck in a breath of cold air, but seeing that my parents and Isabella were already turning around to come down, I endured the pain and limped outside. But with my lame leg, how could I outrun them? In less than 2 minutes, I was already being carried back home by them. After getting home, my father slapped me. He still dared to run away. "Weren't you always eager to marry Isabella before? Now that we're letting you get married, what are you running for?" Isabella also gave me a glare. "Lucas, I'm so disappointed in you. When did you become like this? I've already told you that there's nothing between me and Julian, and I've promised you that I'll get a divorce certificate from him. What else do you want?" My face turned pale from the pain, and I gave a bitter smile. "I want to stay away from you because I feel sick just looking at you now, Isabella. Do you know that you're really disgusting like this?" Isabella's face immediately fell. "You ungrateful brat. I won't let you talk nonsense." My father started punching and kicking me without considering that I had just hurt my leg. Lucas quickly apologized to Isabella. My mother said to me anxiously, and at the same time turned to Isabella with an apologetic smile, "Isabella, it's Lucas who's being naive. After all these years of your relationship, how could it just disappear? Don't worry, Mom will definitely make sure you two get married." Isabella's expression improved a bit. Just then, Isabella's phone rang. When she answered the call, her face changed. "Julian has committed suicide." In the past, because of Isabella, I treated Julian like my own younger brother, but I didn't realize he had such intentions hidden in his heart. Isabella didn't care about anything and immediately wanted to leave. I suddenly spoke up. Isabella, do you really want to leave? Unexpectedly, Isabella didn't even look at me. Instead, she turned to my parents. Mom and Dad, take good care of Lucas. I have something urgent to attend to, so I'm leaving now. Then she left without looking back. I stood up and sneered. Sure enough, Isabella only had Julian in her heart. No matter what happened to him, she would always rush to his side at the first moment. Early the next morning, I dragged my ankle, which was swollen like a steamed bun, to the hospital. As soon as I got to the hospital, I saw that the doctors and nurses were all looking at me strangely. I was taken aback, and then I remembered that this was the hospital where Isabella worked, and many doctors and nurses knew me. The way they were looking at me now made it clear. Without guessing, I was sure that Isabella and Julian were in the hospital. Sure enough, I asked for the location of Julian's ward. When I pushed the door open, Isabella was standing by Julian's bedside. Julian's face was pale, and he looked at Isabella pitifully. Their hands were overlapping. When she saw me come in, Isabella instinctively let go of his hand. Sure enough, a trace of jealousy flashed in Julian's eyes, but he quickly covered it up. Why are you here? Isabella looked at me with dissatisfaction. I lifted my swollen leg and said indifferently, what do you think I'm here for? Isabella's face froze, and when she saw my swollen ankle, her eyes paused. Why is it so swollen? I didn't answer and sat directly by Julian's bedside. Julian glanced at me. Why is Lucas here? I smiled. I heard that you tried to commit suicide, so I came to take a look. After all, you're the husband of my girlfriend whom I've been with for 8 years. Lucas, what are you being sarcastic about? As soon as I finished speaking, Isabella slapped her thigh and stood up, glaring at me. Lucas, don't get the wrong idea. There's nothing between me and Sister Isabella. She did this to help me recover. Sooner, Julian immediately put on a pitiful look. Sister Isabella, I'm fine. Let's go get the divorce certificate now. Don't let our relationship ruin yours because of me. At worst, as he spoke, his eyes turned red. I watched his act calmly. Enough. Isabella snapped at me. Lucas, Julian is very weak right now. Why are you saying these things to him? Julian's face turned pale, and then tears welled up in his eyes. Lucas, I know you resent me. I didn't do it on purpose either. I just lacked a sense of security and wanted someone to rely on, so I had no choice but to ask Sister Isabella for help. Please don't blame her. Blame me instead. Isabella let out a cold snort. Why are you apologizing to him? Julian, you didn't do anything wrong. I felt so disgusted. People who didn't know might think they were a loving couple. Just then, the nurse came in to change Julian's dressing. I had often given snacks to Isabella's colleagues over the years, so this nurse also knew me. Lucas, you're here to visit. A patient, too. Is this your and Dr. Isabella's friend? I shook my head. No, he's Isabella's legal husband. The nurse's face changed, and she looked at the three of us in disbelief. Isabella glared at me with a livid face. What are you talking about? I spread my hands innocently. Am I wrong? Didn't you get a marriage certificate with Julian while we were dating? It's okay, I don't mind. The nurse's face was full of the expression of having heard a big piece of gossip. She silently changed Julian's dressing. Isabella gave me a resentful glare. Aren't you here to see about your foot? What are you still doing here? Leave now. After I went out with the nurse, I deliberately sat outside for a while. I saw the little nurse go to the head nurse and chatter for a while. When she saw that I hadn't left, she quickly pulled me in. Lucas, you and Dr. Isabella have been together for 8 years, right? What's the situation with this Julian? I originally came here today just to see about my leg, but since someone asked, I didn't need to keep Isabella's secret anymore. This Julian is Isabella's childhood sweetheart. He has depression, and his only wish was to get a marriage certificate with Isabella. Isn't that crazy? Dr. Isabella actually agreed. She must be out of her mind. I said that the way he was acting coyly with Dr. Isabella when I went to change his dressing in the ward before was strange. I smiled faintly. Don't make wild guesses. Isabella treats Julian like her own younger brother. Several little nurses immediately exchanged knowing smiles. I turned around and left. After today, Isabella's reputation in the hospital was probably completely ruined. After seeing the doctor about my leg and getting the medicine, when I got home, Isabella called me angrily. Lucas, what did you say in the hospital? Why do they all look at me so strangely? I just told the truth. Since you think what you did is just, why are you afraid of people knowing? Isabella didn't say anything and hung up the phone angrily. For the next month, she didn't show up and she didn't even call. I guessed that she was busy dealing with the public opinion in the hospital, but how could she suppress this matter? At the same time, I was also planning my own things. After what happened, it was impossible for me to stay at home and in this city without any grudges, and the head office happened to have an expatriate quota. After the boss knew about my situation, he was actively helping me make arrangements. I wasn't idle either. I signed up for an institution to learn a foreign language and handled my visa application at the same time. I was really busy. My parents saw that I wasn't causing trouble anymore during this period, and gradually they returned to their previous attitude towards me. But the hurt had already been done. It had become a wound in my heart. And how could it be easily healed? During this period, I would still go to the hospital from time to make myself known, keeping the heat of Isabella's affair high. After all, the fact that we had been in love for 8 years, but she had already gotten a marriage certificate with someone else earlier sounded quite shocking. Perhaps unable to bear the influence of public opinion, Isabella, who could no longer tolerate it, finally started to seriously discuss the divorce with Julian. I happened to be outside the ward and heard their conversation. Isabella said, "Julian, I got the marriage certificate with you before because you were very ill at that time. Now that you've overcome your psychological barriers, why don't we just get the divorce certificate? I still need to get married to your brother-in-law. Sister Isabella, I'm really in pain. I can't leave you. Can you wait for a couple of days? After I'm discharged from the hospital, I'll leave on my own and won't pester you anymore." I leaned against the door and listened. I saw Isabella sigh. "All right then. I won't come to see you during this period. After all, it has a bad influence." When Isabella came out, I pretended to have just arrived. "How is it? Is Julian feeling better?" She looked exhausted. Obviously, dealing with public opinion these days had worn her out. "This is all you're doing. What were you blabbing about?" "Everywhere." Of course, she didn't know that I did it on purpose. After watching Isabella go back to her office, I went straight upstairs to find the hospital director. Isabella is currently at a crucial stage of her promotion. If everything goes smoothly, she will become the youngest attending physician in this hospital with a promising future ahead of her. This is also the reason why she took the initiative to mention divorce to Julian. I found the hospital director and briefly explained the current public opinion situation. The director obviously didn't know what had happened yet. After all, Isabella had concealed this news very well, but I just had to expose it. "Director, after all, you don't want a doctor with a problem in personal morality to become the representative figure of our hospital, do you?" Seeing the old director deep in thought, I knew I had achieved my goal. I quietly went downstairs and left for the company. When I got to the office of my boss Victoria, she put a dispatch document in front of me and said to me with a beaming face, "You can go to Europe next month. Congratulations on stepping into a brand new life." I looked at the document in disbelief and said gratefully, "Thank you, Victoria." Only she could understand the predicament I was facing now and sincerely helped me. Good news came one after another. A few days later, the appointment in Isabella's hospital was announced, and one of her peers in the same period was promoted. According to the usual situation, with Isabella's popularity in the hospital, there would definitely be someone to speak up for her. But now that this happened, who didn't know about Isabella's messy business? Even if they knew, they would just sneer in their hearts that she deserved it. After Isabella got home, she threw a huge tantrum. I looked at her and sneered. "Are you losing your temper with me? You made the decision, so you have to bear the consequences yourself. What's the use of saying all these things? Could it be that I forced you to marry Julian?" Isabella slammed the door in anger and didn't come back all night. Of course, I didn't care at all where she had gone. With 2 pieces of good news coming my way within just a week, I was too happy to worry about that. Early the next morning, Isabella came back, and there was something clearly wrong with her expression. When she saw me, she actually softened her voice and said, "Lucas, you're up. Let me cook for you." If I hadn't left the dispatch document in the company, I would have thought she knew I was leaving and was trying to curry favor with me to keep me. No need. I'm going to the company. You can eat by yourself. She didn't get angry either. She nodded and even offered to drive me to the company. I couldn't refuse, so I had to agree. On the way, she not only showed great concern for me, but was also extremely gentle. She was acting as if she was possessed. However, before I could be puzzled for too long, Julian was discharged from the hospital, and he took the initiative to invite me to have a meal. "Lucas, I know you have a misunderstanding about me, so I want to invite you to dinner and explain it to you properly. Is that okay?" Although I knew it was a trap, I still chose to go. I wanted to see what tricks he could play. Julian invited me to a scenic area restaurant. As he said, we could enjoy the scenery while having a meal. Only a fool would believe his lies. Of course, since I didn't know what he was up to, I couldn't just go there rashly. So, I asked Isabella to come with me. She is now obedient to me in every way. She basically does whatever I say. But when I mentioned going to see Julian, her reaction was a bit strange. However, she still came with me. When Julian saw Isabella following me with a bag, a trace of jealousy that was hard to detect flashed across his face. But he still raised his face and greeted us with a smile. "You're here, Lucas, and you even brought Sister Isabella. At the dinner table, he would glance at Isabella from time to time with a resentful look in his eyes, and Isabella didn't dare to look up at him at all. She just kept her head down and kept picking food for me. Something was wrong. There was something wrong with these two. After a while, Isabella used the excuse of going to the restroom, and soon, Julian followed her. The restroom in this restaurant is shared by men and women. I also followed them. I saw them enter one of the compartments, and I hid in the adjacent one. When Isabella saw Julian come in too, she was startled and said, "What are you doing in here? Lucas will be suspicious." "Lucas, do you still have him in your heart? Then why did you sleep with me a few days ago?" No wonder, Isabella had been acting strange these days and had been so nice to me. It turned out that she was feeling guilty for having an affair, but I have no feelings for her anymore. All that's left is disgust. So, I was just thinking about having some fun. I took out my phone and secretly recorded, extending it into the next restroom compartment. Neither of them noticed the phone and continued to bicker. "Julian, I've already said it was a misunderstanding. I can compensate you. Can you just forget about it? I don't want that. I want to be with you." Then there was a rustling sound, the sound of their bodies colliding. It was quite a commotion. It seemed that Isabella couldn't resist his pestering, and her voice soon became flirtatious. Julian smiled and said, "Admit it, you like me. Anyway, I'm your husband now." Isabella's voice was full of struggle. "Impossible. I've had an 8-year relationship with Lucas." Julian sneered. "So, what if it's been 20 years? As soon as I beckoned, you couldn't wait to get a marriage certificate with me. Admit it, you like me and not him." Unexpectedly, the next second, Isabella actually pushed Julian away. "It was my fault to have a relationship with you, but I really love Lucas. That's not fake. Let's not do this anymore in the future." As soon as I heard this, I quickly opened the door and walked out, afraid of being caught by the two of them. Not long after, I sat back down. Isabella and Julian also came back. Julian gave me a fierce glare, and I pretended not to see it, and Isabella was still attentively picking food for me, as if nothing had happened just now. After the meal, Isabella went to pay the bill, and Julian invited me to take a stroll by the lake. The two of us stood by the lake in the scenic area. Suddenly, he said to me, "I slept with Isabella." I pretended to be surprised and looked at him. "What?" I pressed the recording pen in my pocket. I had brought it just in case, and I didn't expect to use it at this moment. "Do you know that you're really disgusting? Isabella and I have known each other since we were kids. Everyone would think we'd be together, but who would have thought that she would be with you after going to college? But so what? As soon as I seduced her, I got her. Just now we did it again in the restroom." I pretended to be so surprised that I couldn't react. The next second, he reached out and pushed me fiercely, saying, "Now go die." I fell into the water, and there was no one around. No wonder Julian insisted on inviting me to this remote restaurant. This was his intention. I pretended to struggle for a while and then sank down. Only after Julian watched me sink coldly did he start shouting, "Help, someone has fallen in. Come quickly." Unfortunately, Julian didn't know that I had been a swimming athlete in high school. At that time, my parents had made me put a lot of effort into swimming in order to get extra points in the college entrance examination. I never thought I would use this skill at this moment. Isabella rushed over in a hurry. When she heard that I had fallen in, she was about to jump in to save me, but Julian held her back. "Isabella, will Lucas be okay? I'm so scared. You must save him." He wanted her to save me, but Julian didn't even let go of his hand, as if he was afraid that I wouldn't die. It was Isabella who shook off his hand and jumped into the water. Isabella swam around in the water but couldn't find me anywhere. So, she directly called the police, but she didn't know that I had already quietly come ashore at another hidden place on the opposite side. Although the recording pen had gotten wet, as long as it was repaired, the evidence inside would still be there. I ran to a nearby house, borrowed some clothes, and took a taxi back to the city. Julian should never have done this. He actually tried to kill me. The news of my falling into the water spread. The salvage team searched for a whole day but couldn't find me now. Julian probably thought that I was already dead because the next day, he actually went to work happily with a beaming face. I watched from a distance outside his company building and sneered. Julian's company is located in the city center, so there are many LED screens nearby. I rented one of the screens. I uploaded the video I recorded yesterday. Everyone in the entire business district saw the affair between Julian and Isabella. Julian looked at the screen in disbelief. "Who did this? Take it down for me." He was going crazy by the LED screen, and naturally, he was recognized as the male protagonist in the video. "Who on earth is it?" Julian's voice was hysterical. I slowly walked in from outside the screen. When he saw me, he looked at me as if he had seen a ghost. "Lucas, you're not dead." I smiled triumphantly and said, "I forgot to tell you that I'm a national second-level swimming athlete. Did you put up this video?" I nodded with a smile and said, "Besides, I've already called the police. You're suspected of attempted murder. Get ready to go to jail. Julian's face turned pale. Impossible. You have no evidence. Unexpectedly, the next second, Julian's voice came through the LED screen and the speakers, clearly spreading throughout the entire business district. I slept with Isabella. He slumped to the ground, his eyes dull and defeated. Perhaps he knew that his life was over. After the police arrived, they took Julian away, and I went with them to make a statement. After a while, Isabella rushed over. When she saw me, she hugged me tightly in her arms. Lucas, I'm so glad you're okay. You have no idea how desperate I was yesterday. I only realized how much I love you after I thought I'd lost you. I felt nauseous hearing this and couldn't help but push her away. You're so dirty. Don't touch me. She immediately froze, and a look of despair flashed in her eyes. Lucas, I know I've made an unforgivable mistake, and I'm extremely guilty, but I still want to beg for your forgiveness. I was really wrong before. I truly regret not cherishing you properly in the past. Can you forgive me? Isabella looked at me cautiously, her eyes bloodshot. That was evidence that she had stayed up all night by the lake the previous night. I sneered. No matter what you say today, you can't change the fact that you're a filthy person. I find you disgusting. Isabella's tall figure swayed slightly. I really was wrong, Lucas. Please forgive me. I swear I'll treat you well for the rest of my life. Okay, I really can't lose you. Her voice became increasingly low. I really can't lose you. I looked at her coldly. It's impossible. It'll never be possible again. Every time you confess your love to me now reminds me that you're Julian's wife, not mine. It just makes me feel even more disgusted. I put aside my dignity and proposed to you countless times, but you always dealt with it perfunctorily. But you didn't hesitate to get that marriage certificate with Julian. Perhaps you really love him, not me. Isabella had nothing to say and could only look at me pleadingly. After I finished giving my statement, I turned around and left. Outside the police station, I ran into my parents who had rushed over. They hugged me tightly and burst into tears. Although I let them hug me, there was no emotional stir in my heart at all. When they let go of me, I said there's no possibility for Isabella and me anymore. Please don't force me. Maybe my parents love me, but we can never go back to the way we were before. After leaving the police station, I swayed and almost fell, but was caught by my boss, Victoria, who had come to pick me up. I had soaked in the cold lake water for quite a while yesterday and had been through a lot of trouble. It was already quite good that I could still stand there at the moment. After Victoria took me to the hospital, I had a fever and got an injection. When I woke up, Isabella was sleeping by my bedside. As soon as I woke up, she also woke up instantly and looked at me, asking, "Honey, you're awake. Is there anywhere you don't feel well?" I was somewhat amazed that some people could be so thick-skinned and just act as if nothing had happened. "Who are you calling?" "Honey, your husband is in the police station now getting ready to go to prison. You'd better go and see him. Otherwise, it will be difficult to meet him often in the future." I sneered sarcastically. A look of hurt flashed in her eyes. "Stop saying these things. You should focus on getting better. That's the most important thing." I rolled my eyes and ignored her. After a while, my parents came in carrying food. I guess they had asked Isabella to come with them. After going through all these things, my parents didn't dare to say much and were actually a bit cautious. After finishing the meal, Isabella was still standing by my bedside. I frowned tightly. "Aren't you leaving yet?" Her cautious eyes showed a hint of hurt. "Lucas, if you need anything, just call me. I'll stay outside." To be honest, the more she acted like this, the more ridiculous I thought it was. What was she doing before? Now she's pretending to be affectionate. I ignored her and turned over to fall asleep. Early the next morning, my mother brought a bowl of porridge to the table. "That girl, Isabella, slept on an iron chair last night. She's a good girl." I slammed the porridge bowl to the ground, making quite a noise. Isabella came in when she heard the sound. "What's wrong?" I looked at the broken porridge bowl. "I'll get back together with Isabella only if this bowl of porridge can be restored to its original state." When Isabella heard my words, she fell silent for a moment. I was too lazy to say anything more and closed my eyes to rest on the bed. In the evening, Victoria came to visit me. I sent everyone in the ward away. Victoria asked me, "Have you gotten your visa yet?" "I've got everything ready. I can go next week." She looked at me and hesitated. "Are you going to tell your parents?" There's no need to tell Isabella, but I still need to think about whether to tell my parents about this. I shook my head. I'd better not. I'll tell them when I get there. The next day, I was discharged from the hospital, and Isabella still came over wanting to help me carry my things. It was obvious that my parents still hadn't given up on trying to reconcile us. After all, in my parents' eyes, Isabella is the perfect girlfriend and daughter-in-law, and they won't give up easily. So, they're willing to run me instead. Just thinking of this made me even more determined to leave. After getting home, I quietly packed my things and sent them to Victoria's house. At the same time, I bought an airplane ticket. I didn't tell anyone about leaving. On a peaceful afternoon, I pretended to go out for something, but boarded the plane to leave. When I got to the airport, Isabella seemed to have a premonition and called me. I answered, "Lucas, are you busy now? I want to invite you to dinner tonight. I'm about to go to Europe for a work assignment. It might be for many years." As soon as I said this, Isabella was stunned. "Really, I want to tell you that I used to hate you. You destroyed my family and shattered my parents who loved me. But later, I realized that they were probably like this in the first place. So, I don't hate you anymore. Wish you all the best in the future. Goodbye." After saying that, I hung up the phone without listening to Isabella's voice and boarded the plane. I called my parents only after I arrived at the apartment assigned by the company. They were very angry and blamed me for not telling them. But it doesn't matter, but time helped them get used to it. A month later, I returned to the apartment from the company and saw Isabella at the door. She had come all the way, looking tired. "Lucas, I was wrong. I thought I would never see you again. Can you come back to me? Julian has already been imprisoned, and I've already filed for divorce. I have nothing to do with him anymore." She babbled a lot, but I didn't want to listen to a single word. "Isabella, don't make me dislike you even more." With just this one sentence, she stopped all her words and looked at me with red eyes. I didn't even look at her and turned around to go back to the apartment. Later, I kept in touch with my parents, regularly, according to a certain schedule, maintaining our weak family bond. Isabella returned to the country and switched to a private hospital. I don't know who she will marry in the future, but that person will definitely not be me. The thing I wanted most was to get a marriage certificate with Isabella.